Hi, everybody. I'm George, and welcome to the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest, at least. And today's guest is a really exciting one. She's a great comedian and the host of the podcast Self Esteem Party. Please welcome the knife. Alana Johnston is here. Welcome.
George, thanks so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Very excited for this movie, which I will already go ahead and vote as one of the best. We don't even need to announce what it is. The podcast is over. If you guys want to know what the movie is, DM us. We'll let you know.
This is the final episode because we've determined the best.
We've determined the best. I don't need to know any of the other nominees. I just know that I've won the competition.
There we go. Hey. All right. Great ep. We had a good one. Bye, everyone.
Love the intro. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, well, we're thrilled to have you. What is your relationship with horror like? Is it something you grew up enjoying? Is it a more recent thing?
Love it. I love it. Like, basically, when I was growing up, I watched a lot of, like, PG movies, like Now and Then and The Babysitter's Club and stuff like that with my little sister. So I didn't get to watch that many scary movies. So I got into horror later in life. And man, am I glad for it. I love going to a daytime matinee, used to go to a daytime matinee and go see a horror movie. Like Hereditary, we went at a 1 p.m. showing, and thank God we did. Because there's nothing like being like, we'll come out in the day and we'll be fine, and then coming out horrified and just remaining that way for like the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So I do love horror. I love a saga. So I'll go see all the parts of whatever spooky movie we're checking out. What's the follow-up? So I'm all about it. It's also fun to watch at home too. And I tend to pause more, and that kind of takes the life out of it. So I'm like, that's a bit of a luxury that really I shouldn't be partaking in. I should just like tough it up.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
You know what? Sometimes you gotta pause. You gotta freshen up the popcorn or something.
And isn't that the case for life? Wow, George.
So true.
Who's running the Self Esteem Party podcast now? I believe it's you. With all this self-care.
That's right. Hey, this was my plan all along. We're ending Best Little Horror House. I'm taking over Self Esteem Party.
This was a coup.
Fell right into my trap.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I mean, whether it's a horror movie is debatable, but I saw the movie Prisoners in like the middle of the day, and that movie is it's a day ruiner. It's just so bleak.
That's a bad one.
And like we walked out into a beautiful sunshiny Sunday afternoon, and we're like, this just feels wrong.
Oh, dude, like I would go see my movies at the Glendale Galleria where you would come out and there'd be like a beautiful fountain, a little tiny train going by around the shops. In the holidays, a beautiful Christmas tree. I was like, this is not acceptable.
No, perfect horror atmosphere.
Playing. Yeah, there are children out, please. Also, yes, that one might not be an exact horror, but like being thrilled to the core is scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
So when we were looking at the list to determine which movie you wanted to come on and talk about.
Big list. Congrats.
Thank you. You mentioned there were several movies that you really enjoyed that were on the list already. And so I'm curious, because we've been sort of all over the map, if there is a subgenre that tends to draw you in more than others, or if you really are just like, give it all.
No, that's a good question because I'm not crazy about dolls, right? Like the Annabella and this and that. Like I'm not crazy about the dolls come to life just because I was really obsessed with stuffed animals growing up. And it's like, honestly, George, I had a pretty easy childhood, but I did not need that kind of drama. Thinking a doll was going to kill me in the middle of the night. I'm already fending off my little sister. Who knows what she's going to do if I don't keep my eye on her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we actually, our Chucky Child's Play was our very last episode. And so...
Was it really?
Yes. So we did plenty of talking about how scary dolls coming to life can
not for
be.
me. Not for me. I'm really into like... okay, this isn't maybe a genre, creepy. So for example, one of the ones that you had on there, It Follows, very creepy movie. You don't actually see that much of the quote unquote monster or whatever in action, right? It's just the fear that's instilled in you all the time that it's going to come. Like sometimes I don't like when I see whatever the bad forces that we're fighting at that time. It's like I like being scared that they're going to show up.
Right. More dread.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a dreadful person. You said it. Wow, George. Okay, way to take my self-esteem right back down. Thank you so much.
You need to pause. Dreaded? You need to pause just so you can fully realize how dreadful you.
Wow, off to a great start. But yeah, I would say the creepiness, like I found Hereditary to be a very creepy movie. Everybody's being creepy and weird. So I'm not as much of like, Freddy or like this kind of thing. I'm more into like people trying to almost be normal.
Right.
And then you're like, wait a second.
They're not normal at all.
Yeah, because it's like I think that's how people must view me. You're like, oh, look at this perfectly nice, calm woman I met, and then you go, wait a second, something's wrong with her eyes. They won't remain still. Or something, you know what I mean? Crazy eyes where they get going. Hey. You know what I'm talking about.
I've been accused of having them myself sometimes. So
yeah, somebody came on here to confront you. Is that what this podcast is?
That's right, folks. If you can't see the video, you can't get the full glimpse. But my eyes are just going crazy right now.
They're going wild. At first, I thought he had a crush, and then I was like, wait a minute, something's up here. There's more here.
But so the movie we're talking about today is very creepy. There's a lot of slow burning dread in this one. We're talking about 1991's Cape Fear, the Marty Scorsese remake of the 1962 Cape Fear, which is itself an adaptation of The Executioners by John D. MacDonald. Now, I did watch the original Cape Fear as part of my prep, but I did not read the book, so if there's any of The Executioners super fans out there, please don't yell at me if I get anything wrong.
Honestly, of course, classic me, I didn't even know there was a book. So if you guys don't like what I have to say, take it up with the book.
Take a hike, yeah.
Take a hike, go get your precious book and go read under a tree and get out of my face.
These nerds.
Yeah, I'm so sick of you guys and your reading. We get it. Enough.
I will say I did watch the season 5 Cape Fear episode of The Simpsons, so I did get to the important stuff.
I didn't watch the whole thing, but I had to rewatch clips of that.
Oh, yeah.
After watching this because growing up, I didn't really get a lot of Simpson references, and then later in life, as you read those plays or see those movies or shows, then you're like, oh my God, they're genius. Yeah. Of course, this is why everybody's obsessed with that show. But I went back and watched some clips on YouTube as well. So much better.
It's so funny, and it's honestly, I was really shocked at how many jokes and references to it they were able to really pack in.
They literally put the whole movie in there. It was wild. It was seriously, it was great. They did a great job.
Yeah, they even took a little Night of the Hunter and sprinkled that in too.
Just a dash.
Yeah. They said, it's all Mitchum. It'll work.
Yeah, right?
So Wesley Strick adapted James R. Webb's original screenplay, and originally Spielberg was going to direct it. But as they sort of started the development process, he felt like it was too violent, and he just heard that Marty no longer wanted to work on Schindler's List, so they were just like, hey, swapsies.
Oh my God, I did not know that. I didn't do any research. Oh my God.
I was baffled.
So funny.
Imagine the world where we got the two inverse ones.
This is like Freaky Friday or something, and everybody's Lindsay Lohan. Wow.
That's the dream.
Fantastic. That's the dream. Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, get out of my face. Have you reviewed Freaky Friday yet?
Not yet. It's coming up, though,
you'll
I'm sure.
You'll have to have me back on for the last episode before you start my podcast.
It's a deal. And so even though Spielberg decided that he wasn't going to direct this anymore, he did stay on as a producer. Although he wasn't credited personally, but Amblin has a title or a production card at the beginning. They were pretty involved. So Spielberg has his hands in a lot of horror pies over the years.
Yeah, he just doesn't want that blood on his hands, literally.
Yeah, literally.
He's like the witness. He's like, I don't know, I saw him run by with a knife, but it could have been for any reason.
Now, this has an amazing cast. It uses a lot of people from the original, as well as using some of the Scorsese classic people. You know, we of course get Juliette Lewis is absolutely spectacular in this movie as Danielle Bowden.
I mean, listen, you gotta love anything where a helpless child is at stake.
Yeah.
And she played the innocent, I mean, better than any other. You could not have had better casting than choosing her. She was so perfect for that role. And I won't get ahead on the plot, but I'll just say, when she was having connections on screen, you really believe them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting. One of the things I always like looking at is, you know, alternate casting choices. And it's like Reese Witherspoon and Drew Barrymore both auditioned for this role. And
Reese Witherspoon, no way.
Yeah. She even said that she was like, this was a disaster audition. I just was not right for it. I was like,
no way.
Right.
And here's the thing. No way, because she was better suited. Did you ever see the movie Fear? Was that on your list?
No, not yet.
Oh my God. Cancel this podcast. we have to watch Fear. It's so
Take it
good.
from the top.
Yeah, anyways. But it's where it's like a psycho boyfriend. So it's the teen version of this movie, except take out the law stuff. But I mean the creepiness, the violence, like all the getting too intense and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so she's better suited. Yeah.
Sounds good. And, it is interesting that even though neither of them were right for this, they did wind up in horror movies of their own in 1996 with Scream and Freeway. So they both made it happen eventually.
So everybody made it work.
Exactly.
Everything worked out for everybody in the show.
The rest of the cast is great too, though. Ileana Douglas is fantastic as Lori Davis in this, the woman who Sam Bowden has an office flirtation with. You know, it's a smaller role, but she really, I think, brings a lot of empathy to it.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Listen, I'm all about milking that small role. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like there's no small roles. There's only over-the-top acting. Right. And that's where I'll slop myself in.
Hell yeah. Hey, that's a juicy part for the right person.
That's a meaty role. You know what I mean?
We also have Jessica Lange playing Lee Bowden in this. It was just her birthday yesterday, in fact.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was. So happy belated birthday.
Should have sent a text. Yeah, should have sent a text. I feel bad. So rude.
This is another one where it would have been really easy for this to just be kind of a nothing role, but she really is bringing it. The emotion during the argument scene that she has with Sam later on, like, God, just like the feeling of release that, like, you can tell she's been holding this back for so long, and all of her fears and everything that don't even have anything to do with Max Cady. Just all of the familial fears and everything is so powerful.
In my notes here, I have very strained. Everything is very pent up.
Yes.
Everything felt like just a true boiling point. I mean, literally a boiling point to everything. But I was like, another word I wrote here, very unstable.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
Very unstable is what I have here in terms of relationships and what have you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that unstable relationship is with the aforementioned Sam, played by Nick Nolte. Nick was actually reuniting with Scorsese after working together on New York Stories in '89. Harrison Ford was the one who Scorsese wanted for this role, but he said that he wanted to play Max Cady, and so Scorsese said, all right, you're out. Nolte, you're in.
No. Way out. And here's the thing. I think Harrison Ford, because my husband did tell me that, so I knew that little fact. But I think Harrison Ford is a little too, based on The Fugitive, a little too wholesome for that role, because Nick Nolte is like a piece of crap. Yeah. Like, he lied. He was bad.
Right.
He was bad. He's you know what I mean? He's like a skeezy lawyer kind of.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I buy it from Harrison Ford. He's too noble. He's always trying to find his wife. You know how that goes. He's always like, where's my wife?
It's classic Harrison Ford.
This guy can't keep track of anybody, for God's sakes.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Nick Nolte really is right for this, especially because he has to kind of degrade in our view. He starts off and you think that he's this great lawyer and he's, this defender and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But he sucks.
He does suck.
He's like,
big time.
He does suck. He really does suck. And even the way he's trying to handle this and the way he is with his family and his daughter and everything like that. And I'm like, no, this guy, you've just been getting by and you're just upset that you got exposed.
Yeah.
He was 100% in the wrong for how he handled that case. I understand it was gruesome, but it's for what his job is to defend somebody, he didn't do that. So you're 100% wrong.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Part of what I really love about this movie is that it really feels like people caught up in the middle of two wrong parties.
Yes! Oh my God, yes. Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And what side of wrong are you going to be on?
Right.
What's the right side of wrong? You know what
Exactly.
I mean?
There's no way for them to just extricate themselves from the situation because they're linked as a family and it's not easy to just be like, all right, goodbye forever.
Exactly. Yeah, man. It was anyways, the whole point is Nick Nolte was really good in that role because you kind of like you said, it's you're rooting for him in the sense that you're I want his family to be okay. I want him to be okay. And then you're kind of you are a total rat.
Yeah,
and
something needs to happen.
And the way he unwinds, you know what I mean, is you're I love how he started to let the bad guy out more and more and more. And I was that was really, because you kind of saw him and Robert De Niro unwind at the same time.
Yeah.
Just
it's good.
in different ways. Yeah.
When Spielberg was going to direct it, he wanted Bill Murray for Max Cady, which is a shocking concept.
Yeah, I think it. I think Bill Murray can do no wrong, but it just would be the wrong role for him. I'm sure he would do a fantastic job, right? But it's just not. I don't want to see Bill Murray as that.
Right.
I just don't. Please just make me laugh, put a smile on my face, make me think a little, but it's that's not what I want from him. Leave that to Robert. He knows.
Even when Bill Murray is scummy, he's usually not quite this far into sexual assault and genuine aggression. It's usually he's sleazy. And that's, I think, kind of the pocket that he fits nicely into.
I agree, because this is sleazy and psycho are two very different things. Yeah. And it's I should know I'm both. But it's very different things. And I think Bill Murray's amazing, but it's just not right for the role.
That's right. It worked out perfectly. And you know what?
I think it worked out great.
This is why Spielberg was not the right guy for it.
Not the right role.
Yep.
Just not the right role for it. Give him the old switcheroo.
That's right.
I love it. Maybe that's what we need to do with the podcast is you take over mine, but I take over yours.
Wow,
and
this is perfect.
Yeah, except in mine, we're only going to review the movies that I watched as a kid. So, what were the scary moments in Babysitter's Club?
This sounds perfect.
Stuff like this.
I'll come on to talk about Freaky Friday.
Oh, my God. Honestly, though, really, guys, it is such a good movie, and I don't know why you guys haven't done it on this podcast. Freaky's in the title, so it's scary stuff.
I would happily talk about it if someone picks it. So, future guests out there.
Fantastic. Yeah, future guests out there, guys, please.
But yeah, so like I said, Marty went back to what worked. This is the 7th of Scorsese and Robert De Niro's 9 movies that they've made together.
Wow.
Gotta love that. And this is actually the biggest financial success out of any of them. It made $182 million on its $35 million budget. So.
Oh, that makes me so happy, as it should.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't even just a financial success. De Niro got a Best Actor nomination. Juliette Lewis got a Supporting Actress nomination. Well deserved. Yeah. We'll get into that. And even Best Little Horror House Villain Roger Ebert gave it 3 stars. Although he couldn't help but lament about Marty doing a horror movie, and he wondered in his review, quote, if it represents a good omen or not from the finest director now at work. So...
Very interesting.
He's salty.
Okay.
That man hates horror movies.
Bit of a chip on the old shoulder there. Woo!
Sure does. And you know what? I happen to think that it fits right into Marty's oeuvre, Raj.
Yeah, Raj. Really coming at him.
It examines two characters, both distinct in their toxicity and presentation of masculinity, along with the reactionary nature of the law and the response to legal and societal pressures. That's a Marty Scorsese movie handbook right there.
It's literally all you could ask for. The movie was based on a book. They now rewrote the book based on the movie because it's exactly what it should have been.
Absolutely. And that's the correct move.
And it's heavy. Like, it's 100%, like, it really is dealing with so many things. It's like with mental health and just a million and one topics that I think it handled very well. In a very entertaining way, even if it was like about nothing, the acting was so good.
Yeah.
It was about, it just also happened to be about really great things.
Yeah, hey, one would have been fine, but they're giving us the whole dish.
They gave us everything at the same time. All the appetizers, all the entrees, all the desserts.
Marty, you treat us too good.
Yeah, you're too good to us and this podcast. Thank you. Okay, wait. Did she win? Sorry, did Juliette Lewis win?
She did not win. I looked up who won, and then I forgot. I forgot to write it down.
Okay. I also could have looked it up.
I did see that Nick Nolte was also nominated for Best Actor, although not for this movie. So.
Oh, been in the same year.
Same year, yeah.
Very interesting. Good for him. Good year.
Good year for Nolte.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back to the show. Hi, everybody. George here, and I wanted to tell you about a podcast releasing soon called We Heard About Pluto, a psych watch-along podcast where three psychos and their guests will be rewatching the series from the very beginning and discussing the show, from gushing about Gus to searching for the hidden pineapples and everything in between. Plus, most germane to listeners of the Best Little Horror House, one of those three hosts is me. I love psych, and I'm very excited to be talking about it with my pals Reegs and JP. So keep an eye out for We Heard About Pluto, because it's coming soon, and you know that's right. Back to the show. To get into the actual movie, though,
yes,
we start off with these great opening credits. The score is an adaptation of the Bernard Herrmann original, and the extreme close-ups of eyes and the rippling water, very cool paranoia vibe inducer.
Yes, this is where I wrote, starts off with a bang, with a creepy opening, coming in hot on the creepiness.
Sure does.
Because it's a movie that lets you know what the movie's going to be before the movie starts, before you've seen anyone at all.
Right.
And I love those kinds of movies where they're like, oh, this is what it is. We're just in it. You're going to show me these crazy flashes of like God only knows what. And that's just the whole movie. And then it's like, yep, it is. And it's amazing. And it pays off in such a huge way.
Hell yeah.
In such a huge way, it pays off. So good.
It's great. So these opening credits are done by Saul Bass. So both Saul Bass and Bernard Herrmann are longtime Hitchcock collaborators. Very much used on purpose here to bring both the Hitchcock homages of the original Cape Fear, along with adding in Martin Scorsese clearly is a big Hitchcock fan as well. He's adding in a ton of new references, specifically to Vertigo for this opening credits. They're very reminiscent of that. And I also like, in a nice tribute to the original, Robert Mitchum and Gregory Peck get pretty high billing in this, despite only having, a few scenes each, which is a nice tribute, I think, that they get included that way.
Wow, you paid attention a lot more than I did. Here's the thing. I was so caught up in the creepy music and wondering what was coming that I didn't absorb the names as well as you did. I was like, ooch. I was like, trouble's brewing. Here we go. I just know it.
That's perfect, though, because honestly, if I wasn't specifically combing through to be like, oh, like, let me keep an eye out for this stuff, this is the kind of opening that really just lets you sink into it. Like you said, it lets you know what's coming out right away, but you just let it wash over you. It's more of like a tone piece than anything else. And
it like captures your attention right away. You know what it's like? It's like, oh God. Okay, when you're in the movie theater and you know how they do the sound thing like from Sony or Digital Dolby or whatever, where it's like, it goes really loud and then quiet. It's like, that's what the opening to this is. It's like, it captures your attention. If you were in a conversation, it's good to stop because you're like immersed in this, but nothing's happened yet, but you're like immersed in it. So it's like, I guess it worked. The opening credits worked because I wasn't paying attention.
There you go.
Do anything but the anticipation of the movie.
It really is great that way. And we also get a bunch of really quick intros to characters right away that I really like how they handle this. So first we get Juliette Lewis, like I said, as Danielle Bowden, talking in front of a class about how the only thing to fear on the placid river waters of Cape Fear was that reality might intrude. And of course, this is a very childlike, innocent thing to say. This is mentioned later as they're emulating the reminiscent style of writing, a longing for the way things used to be. And you're like, oh, I wonder if this will come up again.
Of course. Yeah, and she's very it's a very still classroom, and is delivering it very sweetly, and right away you're like, this is going to be trouble. You know it. Of course you know it. This beautiful, sweet girl delivering this powerful sentence.
That's signing up for trouble right there for sure.
You know it.
Then we see Bobby De Niro as Max Cady getting released from prison. We learn a lot about him without really even needing too much. His cell is covered in photos of philosophers and leaders like Nietzsche, Stalin, and Alexander the Great. Nobody is coming to get him. His only words are to say that he doesn't need his books anymore because he already read them, that's a great, great line, is sort of embodying his transient nature.
Oh my God. He's just everything here is left behind. I have everything I need. I don't even need any belongings. I don't need a ride home. I don't need anything. He's I just need what's in my head now.
Oh man.
And what's in his head, not to spoil it, guys, is a wild idea.
This summer.
And I just go into my own cool movie trailer.
It's great though. I mean, he walks directly into the camera. Very good, very intense.
Oh, that was awesome. I loved that.
Yeah, and he's also all tatted up. These were actually done with a vegetable dye, but done for real. So they faded after a few months, but those were real tattoos that he got.
You know what? Very smart, because I would not want to be putting those on every single day.
Yeah.
When those applied to me.
Yeah.
Because the press-on ones or whatever, where you just do it with the water, I don't even know how someone could make it that detailed, but it's those are hard to get off. And then if someone's painting it on you, oh my God, I'm going to be here the rest of my life.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure they'll do a beautiful job, but I'm impatient.
For someone who is that covered across his entire body to have to go through makeup body. Every time, that's too much.
I can't imagine. Big ups to everybody that has to do that. Yeah. That's I'm too squiggly. I'm worming right out of that chair. You know it.
Yeah. Hey, the minute that they're this will take a few hours, you're oh, please no.
Yeah. Give my role to Harrison Ford. I'm out. Call Steven. I'm out of here.
He was waiting in the wings yes, I'm in.
Yeah. Ready for my role in the movie.
We get a glimpse of Sam Bowden. He's a lawyer, like we said, played by Nick Nolte, and his wife, Lee, who's a graphic designer. And this might be a stretch, but I was wondering, because of all of the Hitchcock references, if Sam and Lee are name references to Psycho with Sam Loomis and Janet Leigh, who played the murdered Marion.
George, you're about to kick me off the podcast. I've never seen Psycho.
Oh my gosh, you should really see Psycho.
It's out. No. It's outrageous. I want you to know it's outrageous. I came on this podcast to let everybody know I've let you guys down, and I apologize for that because I should have seen it.
Here's what I'll say. It's really hard to find time for all the movies out there. All the movies that you want to see. Life is short, but I think Psycho is worth making time for. That's what I'll say.
It's the feel-good movie of the year. That's what I'm taking away from this.
Hey, Tony Perks don't miss.
Oh, okay. I'll do it. I promise. And I'll follow up with your audience to let them know that I watched it.
But so the family, the Bowdens, go to see a movie, and who should be there but Max Cady? And this scene, I know we already got a look at the serious Max Cady, but now seeing this plan sort of being in action, he's sitting there smoking a stogie, laughing, shall we say, boisterously.
Yeah, and he's smoking the old stogie that he lit up with a cool titty lighter. Flashy titty lighter, boobs flashing on the lighter, which I loved. I wrote it down. I thought it was a huge move and a big exit from the prison and entrance into society.
Yeah, absolutely.
With this titty lighter.
He said, one lighter says Max Cady.
That's all I need. I didn't need any of my books, but I needed this lighter. No, it was great to see him. The laughing is like, I mean, that's a lot requires a lot of energy to do that. I can't even imagine how many times he must have done that too. But I was like, damn, he is going to like choke. He's going so hard on this laughter.
And it's so funny too to like imagine yourself being like the Bodens, because they move seats. They're very unhappy about this.
Yes.
And like, you're like, if I was in that situation, they don't know it's him yet, and they're just like, oh man, this guy is just like, technically he's just laughing at the movie, but also, wow, this is annoying as hell. Like, please shut up.
Yeah, it's true. What would you do? Because it's like, I don't know if I'd be the person to say something to them, because I'd be like, maybe they just find it funny.
Right.
Or what if this is, this laugh, their gift is their curse. They love to laugh, but unfortunately it's very distracting. I don't know. But,
this is true.
Yeah, it is true. What do you do in that situation? You know what I mean?
It's
I guess
tough.
the movie, and you have your kids with you. Yeah, that's complicated with the family in there.
Right.
Yeah.
Who knows? Listeners, write in. Let us know how you handle this situation.
Yeah, you guys got a P.O. box on this pod or what?
They do also complain about him after the movie at an ice cream parlor later.
Yes.
And
yes, that's true.
When Sam goes to pay, he finds out that it has already been taken care of. And the cashier points out Max waiting in the parking lot, which he's watching them. And Sam is really starting to get freaked out now. And
because he recognizes him from the theater.
Right. He's like, oh, this is the same guy. And you're at that point, you're almost like, oh, well, if he made the connection, saw them move, and he was like, oh, that was because of me. Like, maybe this would be like a nice thing that he was doing to like pay for their ice cream after as like an apology or something. And, and that's, you're still like kind of rationalizing it to yourself, because the furthest thing in your mind at this point is like, oh shit, that guy I put in jail 14 years ago is out of the joint. He's here to attack me.
I would have gone over right away to just be like, thanks, why did you do this? Like, I wouldn't have, like, he hurried his family in. He had said, let's sit outside, and then he had hurried them back in to the shop. And I just would be like, thanks so much, or like give a wave or something. Like, I wouldn't question it, because he just paid for it. He didn't touch it.
Right.
Like, if a stranger at a bar buys me a drink, I'm not drinking that drink, okay? Right. But it's like, if I saw the order be made and it's just somebody put their debit card down, fine by me. Go nuts. You didn't touch my ice cream. Go nuts.
Hell
Pay for everything.
That's right. It wasn't even just one ice cream. It was 3 ice creams. So he was really treating them.
Ice cream can be expensive, guys. That's the point of this episode. Ice cream is actually quite costly when you go to the shop.
I'm glad we're finally getting to it. This is really what we've been working towards.
I know. We spent 30 minutes just trying to get to the point of the podcast, which is that ice cream at times can be pricey. Man, I'm having such a good time. Yes, okay, the ice cream.
The ice cream, it's expensive, but the next day we also meet Lori, this is the woman that I said who Sam has a flirtation with at work. Yes. She's a county courthouse clerk, and they play squash together. And while they're running back and forth, this is a spot where we've already gotten a lot of these Hitchcockian angles. But in this scene in particular, there's some more coming up, and some interesting like homage color applications include as well, between like some neat fades. There's one fade that's like to a really vibrant yellow instead of a fade to black. That's really interesting. And some interesting use of negatives as well. Just some cool stuff.
Yeah, it kind of goes with the opening as well, where it's kind of like, not the word jarring, but kind of unexpected.
Yeah.
Maybe jarring, I don't know. However you want to phrase it. Yeah. Maybe you fell out of your seat like I did, or maybe you just thought that's interesting like George did and you wrote it down. There's 2 ways of handling every single scene in a movie. Mine's to pass out as fast as I can. Yeah, this movie took me 3 days to watch. I kept jarring myself out of my chair. Yeah, the flirtation. Listen, that's tricky stuff. And, of course, I knew this movie was a thriller going into it and what have you. I was excited to watch it and everything like that. You always, again, this is the Nick Nolte where you're like, he's trying to be a good guy, where he's like, whoa, we're not doing anything. And I'm like, man, you are going to fuck this chick the first chance you get. Don't play me. Sorry I swore in this podcast, but that's what he's going to do, and you know it. Oh, thank God.
I figure if people are old enough to see the movie, they're old enough to hear us swear.
Yeah, and for the people out there who have podcasts, if there's no swearing on your podcast, say so before. Don't bleep me out. Don't be rude.
That's right. I would never censor you that way.
Well, what if I'm coming up with new inventive ways to swear and then
Perfect.
you're bleeping me out? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, the affair. This is a little, here we are, this slipped through the crack of the Nick Nolte.
That's right.
Where we're seeing he's not everything he's cracked up to be, but he's acting like he is. Like he's the good guy.
Yeah, especially because even if it's not a physical affair yet, it is very clearly an emotional affair at the very least. Yeah.
It's an affair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like, you just got to, would the wife be upset if she knew about this? Would you be upset if she was doing this with somebody else, right?
Right.
And that's at that time. Now we're all open, we're all fluid, what have you. But it's like, at that time, no, my man, you're busted.
He literally was like, oh, she doesn't even know you exist. And that's that's a good thing. And it's like, if you are feeling like you have to hide things that much, probably because you're doing something shitty.
If you're friends, you're friends.
Right.
And then you're just like, this is my friend. I'm playing squash with my friend.
Right.
What's the big deal?
Exactly.
I think my friends rule. I'm trying to introduce them to everybody.
Hell yeah. Nick Nolte, you're out of here, man.
Yeah. Nick, bring back Harrison Ford, guys. We're done. No, this won't be the last time we're done with Nick Nolte. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But so as they leave, Sam is getting into his car, and this is when Max approaches, and he finally makes contact. He snatches away his key, and he reveals who he is. And this is an interesting difference from the original that I found, which is that in this, Max actually does have to remind Sam of his name. And in the original, it's this loss is something that's much more present on Sam's mind, and so he does recognize him pretty quickly in the original, as opposed to Max having to be like, "This is who I am. I can't believe you don't remember me." Like,
okay, because I didn't see the original, so I didn't know that.
Hell yeah! Hey, this is what we're here for.
Difference. This is what we're here for. But yeah, that's kind of even worse, right? Having to be reminded.
Yeah.
It's like, that's going to make you, if you're De Niro, you're going to be like, cool, man.
Right. This is all he's thought about for
I am
14
garbage.
years.
Cool.
Yeah.
Where are all my books? You know what I mean?
I should never have let them take them.
I needed those.
But as they go their separate way, Max says, you're going to learn about loss, which that's not ideal.
No. That, if somebody says that to me, I'm not having a good day.
No.
That's gonna ruin. It's like seeing a daytime horror flick. That's gonna ruin your day, your whole day.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, your whole day.
Yeah. Sam and Lee see Max hanging out on the wall of their property line, but he's gone when they go out to confront him. And Sam talks to his boss at the county courthouse to sort of see if there's anything that can be done. And this is also sort of, scummy behavior from Nick Nolte to be like, I want you to go like extrajudicial and run this guy out of town. Like,
yeah, he's basically saying, how can we bend the law to get this guy
right
to make my life easier? That's essentially that conversation. Right.
In this version of the movie, it is also much more deliberate of an action that Sam took. We hear about, this is the scene where we sort of hear about the circumstances of Katie's imprisonment for the first time, which is that the rape and battery of a young girl. And when a testimonial report about the victim indicated, quote, a history of promiscuity, Sam buried this because he didn't want it to sway the jury into leniency or, heaven forbid, even acquittal. And now Katie was illiterate then, so Sam thinks he doesn't even know about this. But as Katie tells him outside the courthouse, he learned to read in prison, law books mostly. And man, first of all, amazing delivery. These intro scenes with De Niro where he's really starting to like warm up to this cat and mouse game, just absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, this is, this part was really tough because you're like, I get Nolte wanting to bury it because you're like, this De Niro guy should be off the street.
Yeah.
But like we said, that wasn't his job. Maybe he could have passed off the case to somebody, or like, I don't know what else, if he had a conflict of interest or something like that. So this one's really tough. And then like the reasoning of the woman having been promiscuous. Listen, it doesn't age well, okay? That's all I'll say. I was like, oh, damn. And then my husband had to remind me, like, Alana, this was shot quite some time ago. And I was like, okay, yeah, okay, good point. That makes a little more sense. Because I was like, this is harsh. This is like, this poor woman.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a really tough scene because it's hard to know where to stand. Everybody sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to stand with anybody.
Exactly.
Sucks.
And it's the kind of thing where the crime is so terrible already.
Yeah.
That he's even like, I don't think it would have influenced the jury at all. But I didn't want to take that risk. And you're like,
right.
Man.
You should have just taken the risk.
Right.
Why didn't you just take the risk?
Yeah.
It's like, it's so annoying. It's just so annoying because it's like, you know, everybody's technically right and not right.
Right. Right.
It's or at least in the way that it's painted in this movie. I think that's like what they're trying to make you feel is very torn at that time. And it worked.
This movie does also sort of rely on your impression of the judicial system being that it is complete and functions properly for everyone, which is not the case.
I know. That's what I'm saying, man. It's like, fuck. Yeah, dude. You're just like, cool, of course this guy lied. Like, right. Like, it sucks. It just sucks because you're like, not much has changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But, yeah. But it's good because then the reason why that scene was so great and finding out all the information, well, other than you need information to enjoy a movie, it really raised the stakes so high because then you spend the rest of the movie, like we kind of said earlier, not really knowing what side you're on because it's like evil versus evil type thing.
Right.
So it was a real flip-flop for the rest of the movie. And I that was awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it is great because I wouldn't say that you're ever like, oh, I want Max to come out on top. But there is an element of like, well, maybe Sam should be punished a little bit.
Totally. Of course. I don't want, listen, the guy's, you can't murder people, get away with it. And you can't beat everybody and get away with it. Of course. But at the same time, you're like, yeah, but this, like, everybody's shitty. Right. Everybody's done shit. It's just we're measuring what the level of shit with each other. That's all that we're doing. Exactly. It's a mess.
It sure is. And it's interesting too that Sam very clearly understands that what he did is wrong because he immediately goes to, oh, I'm going to pay him off. That's his first instinct.
And he knew it. And that's what's even, and it's like he was stupid to think he was going to take money. Of course, man. It's not about the money. It's all psychological, of course.
And the amount of money that he gives him, he admittedly is like, oh, that was just a first off impression. But when Max Cady like breaks down the amount of money that he was offering him, being like $10 a day for the 14 years that he was in prison, like, terrible. That's not an appropriate settlement to even begin discussing.
He just like made up a number.
Yeah.
He just was like, $500. Like he's just throwing out numbers. You're like, did you even like think this through at all?
No is the answer.
Yeah, no.
And so Max says, like, I don't think you understand what we're talking about here. And that he'll be seeing him around. And he drives off. These driving shots, very Hitchcockian as well. I love them as he zooms off with his sunglasses reflecting the front. Just really spectacular looking.
Yeah, the movie's got a lot of slick moments like that. Very artistic moments, which is interesting to see in horror, thriller, whatever you want to look.
Right.
But, that would be a real horror if that situation happened to me in real life. So
sure.
There you go.
Yeah, plus, I mean, so as far as I'm concerned, thriller is just a subsection of horror as far as I'm concerned.
There you go. I totally agree with you.
One of the other interesting things about this scene, though, is that Sam mentions that he filed a restraining order with the hearing in 10 days. Now, this is interesting because when the original movie was made, these protective statutes did not exist. Restraining orders did not exist until the 70s, getting fully instated in the U.S. by 1989. So they were still relatively new by the time this movie came out, and were actually intended to protect women who'd been abused, much like Katie's victim. So just an interesting way to sort of wrap in a little actual legal precedent in there.
Yeah, I did not know any of that.
Unfortunately, Bowden's dog gets poisoned. The first innocent to get wrapped up in this torrid affair here.
I got to tell you something, George. The same thing happens in the movie Fear. Just so everybody knows, if somebody has an animal in a horror thriller movie, that animal's dead. I'm going to tell you that right now. The dog does not survive. It never survives.
It's not a good time to be an animal in a horror movie, for sure.
It's just not a good time, you guys.
They're all very upset. And, you know, there is, again, this sort of like, well, was it him? Because he returns the collar and he's like, oh, well, you know, the animal control would have maybe done this to a unleashed or unlicensed dog.
Yeah.
And
he's slippery. You can't quite get him. He's slippery.
He sure is. And so Sam has Max hauled into the police station. This is where we first see Robert Mitchum making his grand appearance in this one. He's the lieutenant. And he says there are legal ways to run someone out of town. And I just thought it was really fun that, considering he was Max Cady in the original, for him to play sort of the opposite side of that and to be the police officer.
Yeah, the exact opposite. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fun thing for him. But, you know,
I didn't see the original, but it was pointed out to me. I knew that he was from the original. I always love a comeback cameo. I just love them, especially when they're on the other side of it. Like it's so much more fun that he's on the other side of the mania. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I love that, because then it's like he got to be a part of the same film, two completely different experiences. That's the best.
And it's really interesting as well, because they kind of execute this again in two unique ways, where we get Robert Mitchum doing this, but Gregory Peck, who was Sam Bowden in the original version, he is the lawyer who is like pressing forward with the disbarment stuff at the end of this movie. And so again, it's like, oh, well, he's like the shitty lawyer in the original one who is like shifty and has done this bad stuff. And in the new one, he gets to be like the on the quote unquote, the side of justice as far as he's concerned.
Right. Yes, exactly. That's the way to phrase it.
Right. I just think that it's really great ways to have these cameos in there where they don't feel like they're just hastily thrown in because they're like, oh crap, we got to have these guys in there. But they also don't feel like they're really like taking too much spotlight away from the movie where they're super ostentatious.
Yeah, it's just enough. It's a cameo.
Right.
It's just that. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, it's not necessarily a role that you're going to see throughout, or if it is, it's just like minimally, and it's like that's all that you want, because otherwise you're going to be doing too much comparison.
Right.
So it's like this remake is its own thing. So you don't want to be living too much in the past of the old one, right? So it's like, it's a fun thing, and that's like for the diehards that have seen the first one that would, you know what I mean, have remembered it and like whatever else. But it's like, you don't want it so that new people are completely missing something.
Right. When someone who hasn't seen it sits there and goes, I feel like I'm supposed to be understanding some kind of reference.
That's what I'm saying.
Here.
Yeah. So it's like, I didn't know. I knew he was in the first one. I didn't know what. I didn't know whatever. But I was like, oh, that's cool that he's in the second one. But I wasn't like, you know what I mean, doing a full comparison and then not paying attention to the movie.
Right.
I was like, oh, cool.
Right.
And then just like moved on.
Back to this version's Max Cady. He's up in this lineup now. This is where we first get our good look at the tattoos that he has, which are these vengeful Bible quotes. Very intimidating.
Same as mine, but mine are henna. Mine are henna tattoos.
My tattoos are all just like nice Jewish Bible quotes. They're all just like, I am the Lord your God, and I think you're pretty nifty.
Yeah, and they're huge. They're full body tats. It just takes up every inch of you. You guys got to see this. I don't know why he's topless, but now I do. It was to show me the tattoos.
Exactly. And it's clear that Cady is humiliated by this being dragged in front of everyone and being put back in there. He is glaring daggers through the one-way mirror.
Yes.
Two-way mirror? I never really understand what it's called. You're seeing one way.
Yeah, wait, what? Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I don't really know why it's called that. One way, two way? I guess I would just call it reverse mirror.
There we go.
Where you're seeing the other side, not yourself. Reverse mirror. That's what I'm going to call it.
There we go. As far as I'm concerned, that's the new name for it. And,
Thank you.
And Katie is glaring daggers through the reverse mirror. And, it's extremely fucked up that they're like, oh, this guy, he's an ex-con, so we're going to be watching for any slip up. And the minute that he slips up, we're sending him right back to jail. And it's like, this is such a bad attitude towards something that's supposed to be rehabilitory.
I was like, I don't know about this. Is this the rules?
Right.
Is this how it's supposed to be?
And again, this is sort of where you're like, no one here is the good guy. Like you just have people who are caught up in it and bad people who are involved in it.
And you can see who's supposed to be painted as the good guy. You're like, yes, I understand it's supposed to be you, but it's not based on everything you're saying and you're doing, but maybe your title was supposed to be.
Right.
It's everybody in this movie has got a little something else hidden.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a little chip on them, little something.
That's how you keep it interesting. They wind up having this altercation at the 4th of July parade where Bowden shoves Max, and Bowden is supposed to meet up with Lori, but he stands her up after this because he's recovering, quote unquote, with his family. And so Max Katie just happens to be at the bar she's at. And, the conversation between them is so terrifying because of the sociopathic way that he's like turning on this charm, but you can sort of see past it because we know. And, when she's like, oh, like, haha, like, did you chop up your wife into 60 pieces? You're just like, oh, no.
Yeah, that one's scary because it's like, it's an intense charm that he has. I've met guys like this where it was very like, yes, they're being charming, but you're like, is he going to stab me? I mean, yes.
Yeah.
But the answer to that, guys, is if you think someone's going to stab you, they're probably going to. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But it was very like, he was just, that's what I mean, like creepy. But this one was like, I mean, this was more than creepy. This was like, and I don't even mean the aftermath of it. I mean, just at the bar scene.
Yeah.
This was very like, not even predatory. It was more just like, he was messing with her for like fun.
Right.
Like it was like, he liked saying that he came out of prison. He liked saying all, you know what I mean? It's like, and he wanted to be like, how far can I go? How much can I get away with? Like it was sick. It was messed up.
Right.
And
it was a secondary game.
Way. Exactly. And that was like, that's the worst kind of charmer you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And he takes her to his room, and it's so awful. I mean, it starts out consensual, but it clearly takes a shift in a way that Lori is not comfortable with. And
no,
he handcuffs her. He literally bites a chunk out of her cheek. This was shot like. It felt intense from Marty. It felt intense from De Niro. Like, this was really, like, a shocking moment for me.
I can't imagine what that was like to film.
Yeah.
Because it was a horrific scene.
Yeah.
And it was a horrific scene, too, because it could have so easily been you. You know what I mean? Where you're like, it's like, oh, yeah, we've all been there. You had too much of a wild night. You have who knows where you end up. Or, like, you meet somebody new and whatever. And then you're like, this is the exact reason why I'm scared of strangers.
Yeah.
It's happening right now. This is it.
Right.
This is the worst nightmare. And it was like, that would have been, I don't know, man. From an actor standpoint, I'm like, that's a tough one.
It's awful. It's awful to watch. I mean, I can't imagine being in it. Yeah. And, of course, it's not even something that she can just wake up from the next day because she ends up in the hospital. She won't testify because not only she's terrified of him hurting her again, but also of the process of having her trauma put onto the spotlight, forced to relive it while her own colleagues are the one litigating it and attacking her. It's
totally valid.
Totally valid. It's the kind of thing where it's awful for anyone to have to go through that. And to have it be her own colleagues who are like, well, we've seen you flirting with Sam, so like, are you sure that it was not consensual? And like, all of the shit that people go through with the questioning and not believing, all of that amplified times 1,000 because it's your own coworkers who are doing this to you. I mean, it's It's awful. It's really awful.
A nightmare.
Yeah.
A nightmare. And her reaction was completely justified. I get that.
And very selfishly,
Yeah.
Sam is like, no, you need to do this.
Oh my God. Give the woman a fucking break.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? It's like she doesn't even want you to look at her.
Right.
Like, bug off, dude. Everything for him. Everything for him. It's crazy. And him trying to act like to keep everyone safe and for like it's about her. And it's like, it's about you, dude.
Yeah.
You suck. You suck. This woman that you clearly wanted to bone, that you had feelings for, and or even if you didn't, you at least liked as a friend and clearly liked how much she liked you.
Encouraged it, for sure.
Encouraged it, absolutely. And then you're just gonna like fucking throw her to the wolves. Like,
Awful.
just again, the unraveling. Like the more and more desperate he gets. And it's like he played it well because, man, you just want to wring his neck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Especially like when he's really pushing her, you're like, I'm done with this fool. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Right. Yeah. This is the kind of moment where you're like, man, I just wish that the two of these guys could just like kill each other on a desert island somewhere.
Right. Everybody deal with it somewhere else.
This is when duels come back in fashion. They take it up on a
Yes.
beach.
Get out of my face. Stop hanging out at the bars I hang out at. Leave this other woman alone. Just leave me alone.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The police lieutenant implies that Sam should go rogue, which it's one of the things that I think is really interesting as well is where Sam draws the line for his like own morality and whatever, where he's like, oh, the idea of hiring a private detective is too much. Like, I work within the law. And then, you know, the minute that something bad happens to him again, he's like, okay, no, I'm ready. I'm going to go do this. And then later on, when they're like, he's like, I would never have a gun. I don't believe in them. Like, this is insane. And like, then immediately he's like, oh, hire 3 guys to beat this dude up. Give me a gun. Like, all of his principles get compromised as we go through. And this is, again, like I said at the very beginning, classic Marty to be like, how do people handle pressure? And the character of Sam Bowden really, really cracks under it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And I love that this movie pointed out so many flaws where it's like you said in the beginning, his character believes in the system and in the courts and being able to be protected and this and that. And then he's like, nope, you have failed me and I'm going to get mine.
Right.
And it's like, okay, how the tables have turned.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like, and you're like, yeah, you suck. You lived a lie your entire life. You were backed into a corner, and now you'll like chop off 100 heads just to get what you need, which is like to save your ass, your reputation. Like I don't even think it's about saving his family.
Right. Yeah. It's very much about
so
him.
It's so just about him.
I mean, this is also when Lee, his wife, confronts him about it, and we get more of his backstory, and we see some of this information that really helps to solidify that thought. Like, she assumes it's physical, and we hear that this has happened before, and that he made them move to save his reputation. They needed a fresh start, he says, and so they had to come down to this new town and everything. And this is the idea that he is so manipulative and so precious about his reputation in this way that this is what leads him to manipulate people in this way. You know, it really does make him at the very least an anti-hero, possibly just a second villain as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I definitely see that because you could have done a whole movie just based on this skeezy lawyer.
Right.
And just the shit he's done to hurt people in his life, and you'd be like, this is the bad guy. You could have just had shitty dad, shitty husband, and you're like, this is the bad guy. There's whole movies about just a bit of his personal plot line that we heard. There's entire movies about it.
Yeah.
Small portions.
Danielle hears this argument. She's upset. She slams her room. I thought it was interesting that she has a poster up of James Dean, which, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't necessarily feel like something a young girl in 1991 would have.
You know what? Maybe. Because here's why. Maybe her dad was a James Dean fan, and then she grew up watching James Dean movies. You never know.
Very true. That does seem fair.
I had some weird crushes growing up.
Fair enough. Fair enough. This is another one where I was like, maybe this is a connection to something. I thought it might have been a reference to Nolte's role in Rumblefish, which is very much based on James Dean. But you know, who the hell knows? Maybe she's just had a crush on James Dean.
Hey, bad boy for life.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? The original. Come on.
Hell yeah. This rift between his family is an interesting addition to the new one. In the original Cape Fear, his family is very much on his side and like even takes part in like the planning on like how they're gonna trick Max Cady and everything. And so one of the things that I think is a big improvement from the 1962 version to this 1991 version is that Sam is very isolated from his family, which helps to really amplify all of these pressures that he's feeling.
Right. The other wait, we're not at the high school part yet, are we?
That's the next thing.
Drama?
That's
okay,
the next
that's
thing.
the next thing. Okay, yeah. Here's the thing. A teenage daughter is impossible to control. He has been given an angel. This daughter is like a complete angel, and he has somehow messed it up with every single person in his family. This wife has been nothing but patient. Like from
took him back after they cheated.
Took him back, all this stuff, and it's like nothing but patient. And it's like, and he has zero gratitude. It's all ego. And well, in the next scene, as it goes, then he ends up having less and less control over his family. As you know, I won't spoil it before you present. Literally seconds before you present it.
Well, hey, let's just get into it then.
Let's get into it, because this is my favorite scene. Let's get into it. I've been waiting on this one.
Sure. So Max calls Danielle that night, and he pretends to be her new drama teacher because she's in summer school because she got caught with a joint. And so this is the big punishment.
Party on, baby.
Danielle, you're so bad with your one joint.
You are the James Dean of 1991. Was it 91?
Yep.
I don't remember.
Truly a rebel without a cause over here, Danielle Bowden. I also think this is another sort of the moment where he turns on the charm again, and you're like, this is so uncomfortable to watch when he's like, yeah, teenage angst, that rules. And like, of course that draws her right in.
Oh, like, I mean, I'd have done the same. I was thinking about it when I was watching it, and I was like, yeah, anyone can lure me into anything. You say one thing in which you're an adult and you relate to me, and I'm yours. And that's bad.
It was like really scary to think of, like, kids just take adults at their word. They just believe things.
Catch a predator, my friend. 100%.
It's really scary. And, he draws her in. He tells her that the class is in the theater now. What better place for drama, he says. And this is his ploy to get her alone. And these dolly shots, as she's navigating the suddenly claustrophobic and dark hallways of the school, wow. Really, really well shot.
Again, very artistic. Really builds anticipation.
Sure,
really builds like a lot of fear, which is like really interesting because you're worried about her when she's going into that situation, in that it would seem scary, but it's like then you can like see the switch a lot clearer of like her being what would I say, put at ease,
right,
almost, or something like that, where she's kind of like, oh, this is okay, and then it's like, I'm like, no, follow that gut. It's not okay.
It's
the initial
not.
feeling that was created for us where you're like, this isn't right. And then you're like, stick with that. That was the feeling. Don't relax.
No.
Please.
And it's so funny, too, that because, like, it feels like the kind of thing that would be in a theater department. But when she comes out and there's like the bright candy house set on the stage from like Hansel and Gretel, it would have been pretty easy for that to feel very on the nose. And they just managed to balance that really well, I think, because it sits as such a contrast to the dark and claustrophobia that we had just done. Like you said, this is where they take that away and they're like, oh, everything is back and you can feel comfortable again. And there are lights. And you're like, oh no, like don't get comfortable. Don't get lured in.
Exactly. And it's like one of my notes I had for this scene was, and I said this earlier about Julia, there was a real connection there and it was horrifying. I mean, like,
she said she literally developed a crush on him from this scene.
Yes.
Like,
and you could, and it's like, you could see it. Oh my God, you can 100% see it. And it was like, I was so, she had already won me. I've already been a fan of hers like forever. But it was like, if I had never seen her before and only saw her in this movie, I'd be like, who is this child? Give her 100 Oscars, because you could just feel it.
Yeah.
And it was. I like shiver thinking about it. It's gross.
Yeah,
it's terrible. It's so well done.
It's incredible, I think, especially because when she realizes who he is, she realizes in their conversation that he is not, in fact, the drama teacher, and that he is this guy who's been harassing them. And he uses this to further manipulate her and even kiss her eventually. And she just really feels like a kid in this scene. And that just really amplifies how monstrous Robert De Niro feels.
Well, that's the whole point. It's a kid being lured with candy.
Right.
It's like the whole
a joint in this case.
The whole setup. Yeah, exactly. But like it's a weakness of hers, or whatever, because she was caught with one or whatever. You would look at it, or would be painted that way or something. Right. Could have just been those 2 times, who knows? But yeah, it's the lighting of the whole thing. God, we already have enough drama creeps. It's just, of course this happened in a theater. Like, of course it did.
Right, yeah.
Like, fuck, dude.
I was reading an interview with Juliette Lewis about this scene, because I, first of all, was like, how old was Juliette Lewis when this movie was filmed? Because I was really uncomfortable.
What was she?
She says 17? She was 18.
18.
And she said that she auditioned for the role and based it on a 14-year-old she had met in a park who was holding a kitten and, quote, looked like she had a secret, which, that's a scary description.
Yeah. I wish it was me she saw. I got tons of secrets. Yeah, that's really interesting. Wow, now I want to know about this person. What is this art? Now I want to know about this article. I'm like, where does she get everything from that she does? Is she just like,
I think it was a Hollywood Reporter thing. So,
wow, good on her.
They filmed this scene with 2 cameras so that they could just edit it later without having to break the tension, setting up the cameras and going back and forth and everything. And obviously a great choice, because boy, is that tension there.
I agree.
Oh man, and it's just this is an incredible scene. I think that it's no surprise when you look at it that you're like, these are the 2 who were nominated for the Oscar.
Well, it was my favorite scene in the movie, because I found it to be the creepiest scene because of the lack of violence.
Yeah, it's very effective.
Exactly. It was like a pause to everything that had been happening, and it was just 100% psychological, and he won in that scene. He won. He got what he wanted. So it was very scary to me. Yeah, I loved it. Loved that scene.
Yeah, and I also love the way that, like you said, he won in that scene, because the way that it affects Sam when he finds out, he literally attacks his own daughter. Like, he jumps at her, he grabs her mouth. It's horrifying, again, where you see that he is the one being violent in this situation. Like,
yeah, worst person.
Yeah. He's so fucked up. He's so obsessed with the purity of his own little bubble that the idea of Max dragging him down is what's making him burst at his dang self, you know?
Yeah, it's all about him. All of it. The family's just like part of his resume.
Right. Sam threatens Max one last time, and then he agrees to have Max jumped. But when the attack goes down, Max takes some licks and then gets the upper hand. When Sam tries to flee, he makes some noise and Max realizes he's there. And this was probably my favorite shot in the entire movie, when he's just like sitting there crouched next to the dumpster, and like the light is like glinting off of his glasses, and it's just like the outline of it. And Max Cady is like standing there waiting for him. Just so scary. And he looked so small there. Like, it's just great.
Yeah, that was an intense one. And I kind of knew it was going to play out this way. I was like, there's no way they get him. Please. He can handle this. Are you kidding me? And I was right.
You sure were.
He handled it. That's one way to phrase it.
Right. Well, and, he beats the crap out of those guys. And it turns out that he had recorded the threat. So he uses that, which I think it's interesting that he has the opportunity here to beat up Sam, and he doesn't take it because he has the patience to wait for his real revenge, which is that he's going to use his new injuries plus the recording of Sam's threat to get his own restraining order and begin the disbarment proceedings against Sam. Like I said, Gregory Peck is his lawyer. Martin Balsam, who is Also in the original is the judge in this scene as well. So a third cameo that they included. Very nice to see.
Love a cameo.
I will also say that in addition to being a cameo from the original, this also serves as another connection point to Hitchcock because he plays Detective Arbogast in Psycho with, you guessed it, the characters Sam and the actress Lee.
I did not guess it. Again, haven't seen the movie. I know you brought it up earlier, but the whole thought just went right out of my head because I haven't seen the movie.
Wow. Well, there was the royal you.
I just want to apologize to everyone. I did not guess it. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. We'll edit it. You guessed it.
I guessed it. I won the podcast.
Sam has to go to Raleigh for 2 days for an emergency meeting about this disbarment, but it's actually a trick. They're trying to lure Katie to the house and then kill him in self-defense. Katie still gets in. He kills the housekeeper and then misdoubtfires his way in to kill the private detective, which this genuinely took me by surprise when he like turns around and he's in the housekeeper costume.
I loved it. I was like, how did you pull this off?
I laughed so hard. Oh man, it's great because like it makes you laugh because you're just not expecting it, but also like it's a pretty violent death that happens there.
Yeah, it is, and then it leads to what I call a blood fight.
Yeah,
on the floor, everybody fighting in blood.
When he slips on
so
that.
Much of it.
Oh
yeah,
man,
there's so much of it.
Yeah, there sure
very
is.
Violent though.
The family freaks out after finding these bodies, and they flee the crime scene to their houseboat, docked alongside Cape Fear, thus themselves becoming fugitives. The reveal as the camera pans down and shows that Katie is under the car is so fun and silly, but also terrifying.
Here's the thing. I'm never going to drive a car again. I have a tiny little Toyota Echo, very small and pretty low, and I think it'd be hard for somebody to hide under there. But after seeing this movie, anyone with a good belt buckle strap can hide anywhere. I know that now, and I'm never driving my car again. That's it. It's as simple as that. I'm never going anywhere again.
And who could blame you? Who could blame you?
Thank you.
Robert De Niro did actually do this. He did hang along the car while they were driving. He did make the stunt people show him that it could be done first, which that makes sense.
Yes.
But he did actually hang there, so good on you, Bobby.
Damn.
Yeah. They're out on the river when a squall hits and Sam goes out to check their anchor. And Katie uses this opportunity to attack Sam to the point where he's basically unconscious. He knocks him out, and Max heads inside to intimidate and then rape the two inside. And he makes sure to attack Lee where Sam can see it. But he stops to handcuff her and to bring Sam back inside before attacking Danielle. And this is another interesting change from the original because here Lee pleads with him to have sex with her instead of Danielle. But in the original, how Max plans on getting away with this crime is he wants to coerce consent out of Lee by saying that this, implying that he's going to attack Danielle, but that she could stop him by consenting to have sex with him. And obviously that is coercion and would still be rape and everything.
Okay. That's in the original?
Yeah, so that's in the original, and then I think it's an interesting choice to actually make it her idea and a last-ditch effort instead of part of Katie's scheme.
Yeah, very interesting. Because, also didn't you say in the first one the whole family was like scheming and all that stuff, and then in this one it's like just he's trying to do it, and it's like everyone has their own scheme.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I can't decide which way I would like better. I don't know. I kind of like that it was her idea. I like that it was because it was like her, you know what I mean? Thinking that mother's intuition, her thinking quick.
Right.
And I was like, that's a great idea.
A last ditch effort. She really does try.
It was a good idea. Like to, when you're dealing with a complete psychopath, like
right.
Of all, you have limited options. You really do. So it was pretty crafty.
To be sure.
Yeah.
And he does actually say no. And as he goes to light a cigar, Danielle sprays him with lighter fluid, and he immediately ignites.
Titty lighter, by the way. Did you notice that?
I did notice. It's wonderful. This is the return of the titty lighter.
The return of the titty lighter.
He ignites. Finally, the titty lighter gets its revenge on him. And he has to run up the stairs. He falls into the water. Everyone is like, wonderful. He's gone. Nope. He grabbed a rope. He climbs back on board. He holds them at gunpoint, and he does this mock trial for the negligence of Sam Bowden. This is another fantastic scene. Sam says that Max's crime was so bad that the report he buried didn't matter. Like I said, this is Sam's defense. And he says that he's a monster who had already beaten 2 assault cases. And Max insists that he had to do his duty as a lawyer, calls himself righteous, and declares him guilty of judging him and selling him out, betraying the ideals of God, man, and the bar specifically. I'm curious what you think of this mock trial scene.
Well, to match the rest of the movie, very intense. Yeah. And also just kind of right back to what we had discussed, where we've been the entire movie of like, what side of bad are you on?
Yeah.
Because factually, yeah, De Niro's making a lot of points where it's like, this is your job description. You took an oath to do this, and we'll never know if Nolte was right or not, if it would have mattered or not.
Yeah.
We just won't know. And I guess that's the whole problem, is he took away that opportunity for a jury to make that decision. So I thought this scene was well executed, just with the storm and everything that's like going on. It's like the whole thing, anything, like I'm very afraid of the water despite my swimming skills, but like open water like that,
yeah.
I'd be so scared to be caught in a storm like that. So it was really good because the situation itself in the movie is a total shitstorm, and then they're physically in a shitty storm.
Sure.
So I was like, oh, this is like perfect. This is like all the turmoil I'm feeling is being reflected right now on this very rocky boat and in scary situation. So I thought it was great. And we knew it was coming. We knew the law stuff was going to come and come hard. We knew it.
Yeah. It had to
he
come
had
out.
the book. He didn't need the books. They're memorized. He was waiting for this opportunity.
Well, that storm, Max did not account for that because it throws him right over the side of the interior. He drops the gun. This lets Danielle and Lee escape to the shore, which is great that they are finally able to get out of there.
Yeah, God, can they catch a break?
Yeah. We just have Sam, who cuffs Max to the boat, just duking it out in there. And the boat mostly capsizes.
It was a bit of a Titanic moment. Things started really taking a turn here.
Yes, they certainly do. But Max and Sam are just straight up brawling with rocks. Very biblical, to bring it back to his tattoos and everything. Cain and Abel kind of stuff. 2 lawyers working it out, as Max says very gleefully.
Which was so funny. He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. It really did make me laugh.
Not wrong. Yeah, this part was really hard to watch. I don't like when people murder people with rocks because it could happen to me so easily. Yeah. I think that's why it really scares me, is I'm like,
rocks are everywhere.
You don't need to buy a rock. They're just there. You can just grab it. It's too easy. So that was a hard one. And a weird scene. So slow and dragged out. And The Simpsons did such a good job of recapping all that. Like, it was just...
They sang the entire USS Pinafore musical.
God. It was, yeah. It was great. I really loved it. It was just the perfect climax.
Yeah. Yeah.
So creepy, like the ultimate of creepiness, really. Don't you think?
I do. I think that it really is great, especially because the one little bit of redemption is that Nick Nolte does not get to land the final blow. They take that away from him. So again, it is kind of redemption for him, but it is also like, well, this is something that you've been striving for. Now this is taken away from you the same way that you took this away from Max, but the tide comes through and it sweeps Max and his little bit of boat away, and he drowns speaking in tongues and singing "On Jordan's Stormy Banks I Stand." Quite an ending for our villain here.
Hey man, if I can go out singing a tune, I will. If I can have, I believe in the power of a dramatic entrance and a dramatic exit.
Hell
and
yes.
Let's just say in this movie, De Niro had both.
Oh, yeah. He certainly does.
He certainly does. He certainly does. With the tattoos at the beginning and the cell, yes, he absolutely does. All of it.
Hell yeah. And Sam is there. He washes the blood off his hands, although he does look shocked.
Much like Steven Spielberg did.
Exactly. That was actually the reference from Marty. It was a little wink. But I like that Sam looks kind of shocked to see them actually come clean. Very much sort of a Lady Macbeth situation where, you kind of expect it to be a permanent stain. But even though the physical evidence of it washes away, we are left with the conclusion of Danielle's reminiscent, who claims that even though the blood did wash away, things will never be the same for them. And that she's seen that hanging on to the past makes you die a little every day. And now she hardly dreams about him at all. Ominous, hopeful, the whole shebang, baby.
A perfect movie.
Perfect movie. And now we've reached the point of the episode where we sum up why this isn't just a good horror movie, but in fact, the best horror movie ever made. And so I'm going to let you start off the summary.
Okay. Best horror movie ever made. Here's why. A couple points. One, all-star cast. Okay?
Yeah.
But an all-star cast meets an all-star plot. We already covered how many social issues were in this movie. It wasn't just a ghost running around. Oh, I died in this house and now I also want to live in the house. No.
Boo.
This was like, we were fighting the law here.
Yeah.
We were fighting a whole corrupt system. Like, we were fighting everything here. And then it was like, so casting, heavy plot, creep factor. Okay. This was very artistic. All kinds of beautiful shots to it. Lots of Hitchcock reference, but also very creepy and uneasy and make you squirm in your seat, which is something you would want a horror movie to do, a horror thriller movie to do, but also just very good acting. Like, some people love a horror movie because it's bloody and gory. This had enough of that, but when do you see a truly well-acted horror movie? Truly well-acted. So that's why this is the best movie, because I think it had just enough of everything.
Yeah, I totally agree. To me, this is the best horror movie ever made, because I think that, like you said, the cast is absolutely incredible. Nick Nolte, I've seen this guy do a lot of varied roles over the years, between stuff like Rumblefish and The Wrestler and now this. And I think that this guy really understands the assignment a lot of the time, to use the popular parlance now. And I think that the fact that he's not even the second most impressive performance in this movie.
100%. That's what I'm saying, is he's the base minimum of acting in this movie. And it's like that again, it's horror films are especially knocked for not having good acting in them or whatever, but I'm like, you could have taken away all the creepiness of this and just had these as standalone scenes, and they're just well acted. That's the bottom line. That scene in the theater, it's hard to really capture that in a good horror thriller movie without any blood or guts in the scene. No blood or guts, really hard to scare the shit out of somebody that much.
Yeah. I think that it has all of these great performances. It has scares on different levels. Like you say, it's not just blood and guts, although we get that.
We get that, yes.
Yeah, but we also get the psychological aspects. We get the fear on the behalf of children and innocence getting swept up in this, and all of that, plus the fact that I fucking love Hitchcock, and I love when movies are able to sort of take Hitchcock's vibe, but he was, held back by the Hays Code for most of his career. And so he would have loved to make a movie like this. I when I was recently rewatching stuff for the show, I watched Frenzy, the 1972 Hitchcock movie, and there is it's a very similar feeling to this. And in the same terms of exploring masculinity and the way that people react to these situations, what makes Frenzy so interesting to me is that every man in that movie is so misogynistic and terrible that when people wrongfully accuse our quote unquote hero of being the murderer, everyone is like, yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah. And so this sort of exploration of toxicity, the way masculinity presents itself, and male reputation management a lot of the time, and the sort of toxic ways that people try and maintain that is beautifully explored in this
and ahead of its time.
Yes, absolutely. And again, ahead of its time in terms of really understanding how fucked up and broken the judicial system is in terms of people being able to just be like, I don't think that this should see the light of day, so it won't.
Right, exactly. So you get all this stuff working together, and it functions to bring together a great plot that's a wonderful update of a movie I already liked. And that is why this is the best horror movie ever made. Alana, I want to thank you so much for coming on. This was an absolute blast. And please tell everyone where they can listen to Self Esteem Party, which I will shortly be taking over. Yes. It's the Feel Good podcast of the year, where I bring on all my comedy friends and we talk about self-esteem, how we're feeling, what we're doing, and anything else that comes to mind. It is available on the Sonar Network or wherever you get your podcasts, and we are at Self Esteem Party on Instagram and Twitter. And if you'd like to follow me, I'm at the only Alana Johnston on Instagram and at Alana_Johnston on Twitter.
There you go. Do all of that stuff. The pod is great. You're a great comedian. I love your work. And so people should follow you on Twitter as well. As far as my plugs, people can find me on Twitter at LittleHorrorPHL. If you're enjoying the show, there's a Patreon with bonus episodes. You can also get early and ad-free episodes. All kinds of great stuff over there. We're watching the X-Files and doing a little community discussion on that. It's my first time watching them, so that's fun. If you're,
I love the X-Files.
It's really we're in the middle of season 3 now, so things are really heating up. It's getting to all the conspiracy pieces are falling into place. It's really heating up. So if you enjoy the X-Files, people out there, check out the Patreon. That's it for me. Thanks, Alana. Bye.